Hi, good morning, Pranaya. It's very nice. You have done a lot of work here. Some things may be corrected, though it's very good to look. The look is good. I think the border you have used, the border is not required for our projects. Anyway, the title casing also. You have used entire title casing. It's not the thing we have to. It's not correct. Title casing is not correct. Follow the format which was given to you. Okay, it is different. It's not title casing. I think except this Master of Business Administration, remaining things have to be corrected. Affiliated to all this is not in the title casing. They are in the. There should be title casing, not in the capital letters. All you have used capital letters. Next, this page is not required, ma. This is only for your idea. In synopsis, we are not writing to going to do this review, company profile, bibliography also. Anyway, you will be ready with this. So these are the things which you have to be ready next. Okay, next prepare one file of review literature, one folder or file for company profile, and one separate folder for bibliography. Bibliography you have to show me. So after this class, I will ask you bibliography. Okay, what you have, which sources you have referred, and which you have used, where you have used. So such things are very useful for us. Later we may forget. So better you start now itself in this chapter, bibliography. Okay, a separate file for this. Next, introduction. Asset liability management. Again, you have used something. Better do not use these bold usages. Make it simple, ma. Make it simple. Okay, bold. When you are putting the asset liability management for the first time, you have to put it in the bracket short form ALM. Okay, later you can use simply ALM, 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 ALM. Okay, no need of expansion of this. Okay, no need of expansion of this. When you have written A here, capital letter, L here, capital letter, why not M capital letter? So that is called as title casing. Again here also no need of writing again. Okay, this is also not required. The art of proper management of healthy money is asset liability management. Is a strategic approach of managing balance sheet dynamics in such a way that the net earnings are maximized. Can you explain this sentence? Managing the balance sheet of dynamics such a way that the net earnings are maximized. They may ask you question net earnings. So you have to remember that. This approach is concerned with the management of net interest margin. Net interest margin. What is this? You have to explain if they ask you. To ensure that its level and riskiness are compatible with the risk return objectives of HDFC. Wonderful. Which branch you are doing HDFC? I would like to know. Here you need not mention that. Please submit the details. If one has to define HDFC bank or just HDFC ma, because there may be HDFC is different, HDFC bank is different. Understand? It can be a bank or simply HDFC also. So please let me know which branch, if it is HDFC or HDFC bank also. If you are not doing also, no problem. If you are just using the data also, no problem. I am not going to verify that. I am just asking very casually. Okay, no issue. The liberalization measures initiated. Liberalization capital is not required, ma. It's not required. It should be in the lower case. Measures initiated in the country resulted in revolutionary changes in the sector. Which sector, ma? Which sector? You write which sector? Public sector, private sector, automobile sector, pharma sector. It should be HDFC. If it is HDFC, that is housing and finance sector. If it is HDFC bank, that should be maybe banking sector. So there was shift in the policy approach from the traditionally administered market regime to a free market driven regime. This has put pressure on the earnings capacity of the cooperative. Why we are talking about cooperative, ma? Acha, it is HDFC, right. Which forced them to foray into new operational areas, thereby exposing themselves to new risk. Wonderful. So where from you got this sentence or these things, you are putting in the bibliography. No need to mention that you have taken this sentence or that sentence, but just let me know. Okay? As a major part of funds, at the disposal of come from sentence grammatical error is there. Please do check grammatical errors before sending it to anyone. As major part of funds at the disposal come from outside sources, the management is concerned about risk. No need to bold, ma. No need to bold this. No need to put it in a capital letter also, unnecessary. Arising out of shrinkage in value of asset. Shrinkage in the value of asset and managing such risk become critically important to them. Whom, ma? Which management? Which management is concerned? You're talking about HDFC management maybe. Okay, fine. Although cooperative are able to mobilize deposits, major portion of it are high cost fixed deposit. You may be 100% right. When we are asking just to clarify, okay? Even examiners also will ask. Maturities of these fixed deposits were not properly matched with the maturities of the fixed assets created out of them. Wonderful. This is very good sentence. So if you understand this sentence, you understood entire thing, entire ALM. ALM already you have studied, I suppose, in some subject. The tool called Asset and Liability Management provides a better solution for this. Wonderful. Nice sentence. Neatly you have written. Okay. Avoid this bold letters, capital letters, or simply say ALM. Now, why to write this thing? Simply you say ALM. In short, instead of asset and liability management, you can simply say that here also. ALM is a portfolio management of assets and liability of an organization. I see organization. This is a method of matching various assets and liabilities on the basis of expected rates of returns and expected maturity pattern. It's not pattern, I think it's a pattern. Please do check for grammatical errors and typos. They are very common. You are having every right to make mistakes. So give it to someone else so that they can correct it. When somebody reads, now these are the hindrances. In the context of ALM, is defined as what is it now? In the context of ALM is defined as what is this correct sentence? Correct the sentence. Defined as a process of adjusting liability to meet loan demands, liquidity needs. You already defined here, na? Fine, no problem. So match the paragraphs. Some paragraphs are not in the matching. Here you are talking about your company or something. Here also you are talking about your company. Okay. This paragraph is talking about company. Better you start with general LM, then go for the company in the end. This HDFC part and this them, etc. This part you can put it in the end. That will be good. So ordering of the things should be there. Okay, na? Clear? If you have any questions, you can ask later. In the context of ALM, do you show this definition? Fine, no problem. Never put a colon. If colon is there, something should be there after this. Okay, never use colons in a heading. This is a side heading, right? Remove the colon. And no heading shall be, side heading shall be in capital casing. That should be in title case like this. Okay? Fine? The need of the study is to concentrate, sir. Don't start the sentence like that. Need of the study is to. There is a need to study. Like that you can write. There is a need to study. Why you have to need to study? You have to write first. Here you have written, na. The major funds of the disposal come from outside sources management. There is a sinkage of the assets. Such risks become equally important to them altogether. Is mobilize. So HDFC having problem. Okay. So this is the objective of HDFC. Okay. And this sentence, you can write that. Deposit major portion of the high cost fixed deposits. like that you can write this sentence, align this. I'm not saying that write exactly like this, write properly. Okay, as major part of the HDFC's funds, if it is HDFC bank means HDFC bank, you can write here. So there is a need, therefore there is a need to study, therefore there is a need to study the growth performance of HDFC, etc., etc., what you have written, etc. To improve the asset liability management, there is need to study how asset liability management of HDFC, ALM at HDFC, full right here you can write full of HDFC. Okay, there is need to study asset liability management practices of HDFC to find out, otherwise never write to know. To know, it's not a correct sentence. Okay, to find, there is a need to study to find the measures taken by HDFC and the measures taken and policies adopted by. Which policies? ALM policies adopted by HDFC. Okay, that's all. This is simple. So this bulleted list you should not write in need for the study. Remove this bulleted list. Okay, remove this bulleted list. Never you should write this. To know cannot be the objective. You will know. What about us? To find out. Knowing is very simple. That is not a project objective. Okay, write in the same page objectives of the study. Again here also title casing. Okay, only the first word should be capitalized. Okay, next, to study the concept of asset liability management, again capital letters you have used here in HDFC. Don't write in the bold. Okay, don't put it in the bold HDFC. In presentations, generally to make it attractive, we'll do it, but this is a project work nama, so we cannot do that. Okay, to study the concept of ALM in HDFC is not required. Okay, just basic theoretic concept you will study. In an introduction, you can write about asset liability management. Next, to study the process of cash inflows. This is not L, this is I, what you have written. Again, you have used the capital casing. Okay, don't do that. Outflows in HDFC. Process of cash inflows. Process, it's not a process, Nama. It's usual. What is there to study the process? The level of cash inflows, cash outflows in HDFC during 1st April some year to 31st March, not 21st, of some year. Okay, we don't know that year. Can you write like that? 222-999 is not the thing, it's year. Which year you are talking about? Same thing here also. So this thing you can put for other things also, other objectives also, you can prefix this. But never put it in the bold. To study the risk management under HDFC, and no. Risk management techniques. Which risk management and policies, if any, and not under. In, it's not correct. In HDFC, no under, remove this under. To study reserves cycle. Okay, I don't know about this reserve cycle, but don't put it in the capital letters, put it in the title casing if you want. R, N, C can be capital letters. Reserve cycle of ALM under HDFC. Again, don't say under. It is in. During. Again, you can put here also during. To study functions and objectives of ALM committee. Yeah. This is not an objective. Remove this entire objective. Okay, remove this entire objective. No need of this objective. Fine. No need of this objective. This objective is not required. Okay. Okay, I'm missing it. Scope of the study. Again, you have put the colon here. In objective, you don't have colon. In scope, you have put again colon. Remove this colon and put it in the normal casing. We call it a title casing. S capital, S capital. Only these two shall be capital letters. Okay, now. Nothing else should be capital. Remove this also. Title. In this study, the analysis based on the ratios. You never talked about ratio earlier. Now some ratios have coming into picture. To know, again, to find out, you write here. It's not to know. To find out. Asset liability management. Again, you have used here completely a different casing, unlike in the earlier thing. Here you have used capital casing, asset liability management. Everywhere you have used capital casing. So there is a flow. People will read and compare the second sentence, third sentence. First sentence is written by someone else. The second sentence is written by someone else, means you have such a difference. So there should be a flow. It should not look like you have copied from different sources, or the first paragraph is written by a different person in the introduction. So you have to normalize the language, the tone, by using the calculations. Never say calculations. What are the tools you are using? Under asset liability management based on the ratio analysis. Ratio analysis is not a tool. Which ratios you are considering? Using which ratios? Comparative statement of what? Which comparative statement? Of what? Common size balance sheet. Of whom? Whose balance sheet? HDFC's balance sheet or what? So we have some, actually in the scope you can write in asset liability management you have time buckets. There is a gap analysis. The technique is gap analysis. Why you are not using this gap analysis? We have studied already in the first unit of your subject. In FRM you have studied ALM, right? So why you are not using that? What is taught in the ALM, that is very much relevant here. So you can use it. Understand? So calculations is a very low term. Don't use that. Techniques. The scope you can write duration also. In the scope during so and so time you are doing it also, you can write in the scope. Okay. The study considers. Okay. What technique you are using? Don't put it again in the scope bulleted list. Just put it in the sentence form. Okay. Gap analysis technique is used to measure the mismatch. Observe this carefully. Mismatch in certain assets and liabilities. Interest mismatch, time mismatch. You know the mismatches, no? For the period. This is about technique you are writing. The study period is of 2 years, 3 years, 1 year, dash years or months you can write. From this you have to write. The study focus, the focus area of the study. The focus area of the study is ALM. You can expand this. And the organization or company selected for the study is HDFC. You can write the branch also, branch details here. Okay, na? So you can start the sentence with this. Then you can write what technique you are using, what you are doing. You will find out the reasons for the mismatch. What you have written in the objectives here, reserve cycle. You'll study the reserve cycle, etc. It will study the cash inflows and outflows, reserve cycle. So these things you can put in a sentence format. It will study the reserve cycle, it will study the cash inflows and outflows, etc., etc. You can put it. Fine. Then the technique used is gap analysis, and you are studying this. You will compare, you will measure. It also uses, you may use these techniques, don't put in the scope of the study. These techniques you have to put it in research methodology, the techniques used. Okay, in the research methodology, where is the technique? You have not written any technique here. Write gap analysis. Two factors are. They are not factors, what you are writing here. Primary data collection, secondary data collection. You do not have any primary data. Chief manager ALM cell. Whose ALM cell is it is? Department SR manager, finance and accounting. F is small letter here, A is capital letter. So such mistakes they will observe. System manager ALM cell. Chief manager ALM cell. System manager ALM cell. Department senior manager. Which department ma? Don't know. We have to have an idea. They may ask you all the small questions also. Gathering the information from other managers and other officials, other managers and other officials of the HDFC app. Make it very clear, simple. Gathering the information, the sentence is a continuous tone. Gathering the information, how long you will gather? You are still gathering. So sentence is not very clear. Grammatically there is some mistake in that. Make correction. Okay, na? The sources of primary data were, means already you have collected. Are means you are going to collect. Don't write like this, ma. Please see my video on this research methodology. Don't put it again in the capital casing. Research methodology, better you put it in the separate page anyway, fine. Don't put it as secondary data collection or something as a heading, okay? Primary data collection is also not heading. In fact, what information you have collected from chief manager, system manager, department senior manager is not a primary information. That is already you have collected their records, maybe ratios, common size balance sheets, okay, or other balance sheets, assets records, liability records. So they are all secondary data. Okay, so these sources are secondary sources. So there is no primary data for your project, very clearly. If you have collected data of chief manager's consumption level, personal data, it is primary data. Senior manager's personal data, it is primary data. If he is giving you some record, his observation, if he observed something personally which is not there anywhere in the books, that is primary data. Okay? So they are giving you any data which they have observed, which is not published. This is not on the paper. Which data you are using? If you are using the data, you have to name the data, and that is primary data. Fine? So I am not saying that you may not have completely 100%, you shall not have the primary data. You may have the primary data, but what is that primary data? Price data, interest data, income data, which is not published in a paper or printed on a paper. They have observed, which is given by them first hand to you. Okay? This is also not correct, the sentence grammatically. Collected from books. What is collected? What is collected? Regarding books Analysis is based on which analysis, ma? ALM analysis based on structural liquidity. This is very nice. Here you have written, see, the structural liquidity statement. This you put it this, na? Structural liquidity statement, dynamic liquidity statement. These are the techniques, ma. These are the techniques. Gap analysis. Here you have written, na? Gap analysis, structural liquidity statement, dynamic liquidity statement. These are the techniques used. Here in the scope also you can write structural liquidity statement, dynamic liquidity statement, gap analysis. So here also in the scope you put this. Very nice, you have done very nicely. I appreciate the project. But you are not writing in the scope and even in the objectives you write to study the structural liquidity position. To study the, why this is bold? To study the structural liquidity position, or simply structural liquidity of HDFC, which branch for during what period you are studying, that you write it. Okay, during. That is very nice. Using the gap analysis also you can write. Here also you can write. Otherwise, technique, scope, you can write gap analysis. Research methodology also you can write all this. Fine. Study is confined to HDFC. The study is confined to the period from so like that you can write. It's very cold here. I'm continuously talking, so there is a problem. The study is mainly based on secondary data. The study is restricted to secondary data. The study is confined to, not confirmed, confined to which analysis? Confined to only 2 years or only 3 years. So confined, restricted, only. These are the words which are suggesting limitations. In scope you can write extended. The study considers, focuses. The study extends to this technique, that technique. Like that you can write. Extends to, confined. So that is how you write the scope. Please see my video of writing this. Okay. All the best. You have written review of literature. Nice. But I am not correcting that. Based on this you can correct all this. Bibliographies, this is not a correct format, ma. Bibliography already we have sent the format. So no bulleted list, no list like this. You have to write bibliography in a OU format. Take the format which I have sent you. Okay. I'll stop here. All the best. You have done very good work. Carry on. Okay. And make corrections also. Okay. You have written company profile. Okay. Fine. No problem. I'll check this later. Okay. Company profile, you can write what are the competitors, who are the competitors, the industry, little bit about the industry, what is the position of that company. Such things you can put it. Okay. All the best. Thank you.